What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Pure Sports Hardwood show for some Monday night NBA action. We had 8 games. Now we have 7. The Pelicans and Mavericks got postponed due to, I believe, the Mavericks not having enough eligible players. So that's that. We have the 76ers down to 9 bodies with a bunch of dudes out due to health and the COVID protocols. But it's a solid slate. We'll be here to break it all down. Joined as always on Monday by title, but we have a special guest, the man who takes care of and manufactures the playbook every single day, Mr. AP. I'm going to throw it to you first. What's your overall thoughts on this slate here?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? It's good to make an appearance, and yeah, we got a fun slate. Obviously, things get a little easier or whatever, however you want to look at it, with one game being off the slate because of the Mavericks only had 7 players and not the required 8 to play. And so yeah, I think it's a good slate. I think there's a lot of really easy, really identifiable areas that we can just go to and we can lock in some value, maybe a stud as far as paying up for Joel Embiid. But on the surface, it looks like a really good slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good one. We have a ton of value. We have, quite a few guys that, we can spend up on, have a couple spots where teams are playing way, way up in pace. We always joke. It's like every single time title comes on, Giannis is on the slate. Today is no different, but it is a tough day to pay up for Giannis again in this spot with the Magic. They're pretty big favorites. Talk about Giannis and, your overall thoughts on the slate, title.
Yeah, so this is a really good slate, a pretty good Monday slate, 7 games. So I like them over 5. I know Big T likes them at 5 for tournaments and stuff. I like them a little more, but I don't like the 14 games or stuff. So yeah. Nice little 7-gamer. We got some big news. We got Russell Westbrook out, Ben Simmons out, Tobias Harris out. The only questionable people we got today we got Sexton, Rashard Holmes, and Buddy Hield. So a little bit of news. We get that Kings game late. So definitely going to have to stay on top of it. If both of them are ruled out, Buddy and Holmes, Tyrese Halliburton becomes a good play. Bagley becomes a good play and gets some fourth quarter runs. So a little bit of news with already news that people are out. So I think it's a good slate and there's definitely a good edge.
Yeah, there certainly is. And like always, I mean, we talk about it on these shows. There's certain to be something else that pops up. As of now, it looks pretty good. It looks like we have most of the news, but man, the way this season's going and is going to continue to go is you can count on something else breaking with only, we got about 2 hours going to lock. So it's very important this season, as it always is, but this season even more to pay very close attention to the news. All right, let's get those likes up. After the first or second game, we'll pick a number. We don't have Big T here to head to FedEx. So, since AP's filling in, we might have to ship him over to the FedEx store after the show to get your gear out. But hit the like. We'll pick a number after the second game and, give out some gear. We have the Up to Lock show at 6:15 Eastern. That's JSU Holden. That's part of our premium product at Pure Sports. So they take you up to lock. They cover all the news, all the breaking news, and that sort of content is super important this year with all the news that continues to break. Then we have a bonus show tonight, part of the premium package as well, National Championship show with Big T and our buddy Bruce, who kind of heads up our college football product. So that'll be at 7 p.m. tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, so right after NBA lock. We have a promo code going right now in honor of the workbench play. Big T's not here to give his workbench play of the day, but I have two gentlemen who are very well versed in the NBA streets. So at least one of you, maybe two, will be giving out a workbench play of the day. So we have that promo code. It's workbench21. It gets you 25% off your first payment at Pure Sports. Workbench21 for 25% off your first payment at Pure Sports. NFL playoff content, NBA content, PGA content over the weekend, Showdown PGA content, really solid Showdown PGA content, a full breakdown of the field, essentially. Our boy Snyder kind of heads that up. Really, really good piece. MMA starts Saturday, right, Title?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so our MMA product, man, like I said, I talk about it quite a bit. Never really into MMA before the whole, quarantine COVID situation. That was the first thing that came back, so I kind of got into it, learned to love it, and honestly, like nobody I mean, nobody has taught me more than Title about MMA. He does a phenomenal job with the playbook, core plays in our Discord chat. With that coming up on Saturday, Title, just give us a breakdown of the content, the MMA content at Run Pure Sports.
Yeah, so MMA is probably my favorite sport and might even be my best ROI too, because it's just such a niche sport. It's growing a lot too. Like you talked about how you over quarantine, the pandemic was the first sport back. And I mean, how do you not like MMA? Two guys trying to kill each other in a cage, just very technical, insane athletes. And the sweat is unlike any other for DFS because it's one-on-one. Anything can change in a second. You get 12 fights, so you can hedge. If you have like the nuts coming up in the main event, you can bet and take your money. You can make profit. There's just so much of an edge in MMA and different things you can do that translate over from NBA, NFL, just roster construction and game theory. So I apply all of that, do a lot of tape work, study, write a fight by fight breakdown, tell everyone how I'm approaching 20 entry max, cash games, underweight, overweight, fades, all that, have my core plays and everything. So we have a lot of big cards coming up. We even have a weekday card on Wednesday, which I love the weekday cards, getting 3 in a week. So back to Fight Island to start it off. We're going to be there for about a month, I think, and I can't wait to get back to it.
It's an exciting sport to watch and grind for DFS. I mean, it really is awesome. And, getting into MMA, I'd read a lot of content and you read the contributors at these other websites and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of like this guy. I like this guy a little bit. I'm going to play this guy 55%. I'm going to play the other guy 45%. I'm going to play this guy, just a little bit of this guy, a little bit of that guy. So in case he knocks the dude out, like I have him in my, there is no way to win when you do that. And that's like every one of these dudes. Title picks these dudes, fade, playing, just a phenomenal breakdown. So that starts on Saturday. But I know you guys are here for NBA, so we'll get into it and break down this slate. Just make sure you hit that like button so we can continue to bring you these shows for free. First game on the slate is the Bucks and the Magic. The total is 226. Bucks favored by 10. Big number. Giannis is one of the more expensive guys on the slate. Tough spot to pay for him. I mean, we've seen his minutes, into the mid 20s when they blow teams out. Makes it very, very difficult to invest that sort of money in a guy that could play, 24, 25 minutes. So I don't see myself going with Giannis today. On the Magic side, they're going to be very shorthanded again. Fournier is not expected to be in there. Fultz is out. I just saw James Ennis is out as well. That's not a big name or anything, but that's another body that's, off the table. The one thing that does kind of stand out to me on the Magic side is Aaron Gordon finally got those minutes up. Last game played, I believe, 35 minutes. And that's the first time he's kind of cracked the 30-minute mark. So I think he's kind of in play here a little bit. But for the most part, I'll be off this game. AP, you haven't talked in a while. Usually I go to Title first when we talk about Giannis, but you've been on the sidelines here for a while. So I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you thinking here in this game?
Yeah, this was the first game of the day that I bet when I pulled up the lines this morning and put the play in over on the bet side, and we're having a good year with NBA. And look, the line came out this morning at the Bucks favored by 7.5 points, which was way too low. It's already jumped up to 2.5 points. It could arguably jump up even more heading up to lock. I mean, the Bucks, it's what they do during the regular season. They blow teams out. They like to run fast. And man, I don't like the Magic just. They haven't looked good on offense. They basically have no true point guard right now outside of Cole Anthony. And look, he's a rookie. It's his first year. I just think they're having a really tough time getting this offense going. And I think this could be over, pretty quickly. So when I look and break down this game, blowout risk is huge here. On the flip side, we should have somewhat tight rotations on the Magic side. And we're getting a little bit of a pace bump. It's just, with the Bucks, they have so much length that's going to be really tough on Aaron Gordon. It's always tough. Vucevic, I think he's had some success in this matchup. And the thing is right now, the offense is 100% running through him. So if the Magic were to keep this one close, Vucevic is going to have a big game. But when just looking at the rotations, you could almost discount the blowout risk just a little bit because he's almost going to be forced into those minutes. So on the Bucks side, it's definitely hard to pay up for Giannis unless you think the game stays close. Middleton, he's kind of been a pretty steady performer. He's obviously the best shooter on their team. And, I could see him getting it done. I just think that we have better spots on this slate. And so for me, it's not going to be one that I'm heavily invested in.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough spot to really go overboard, and just not a lot of plays, not a ton of upside with these dudes. So like I said, I'll mostly be off it. Aaron Gordon's probably my favorite title. I mean, I know you like Giannis, but do you see yourself going here tonight in this matchup?
No, yeah, today's not a Giannis day. You guys hit on it pretty much. I mean, there's other better spend ups on the slate. The blowout concern is always there. Giannis had a pretty hard fall on Friday. It was good enough that he was down for a couple minutes. He came back, but he definitely didn't look the same. Sat him yesterday. So that's a little thing to note too. If they're up blowing him out, I don't expect them to get run at all. And it's just not too many bucks, like with Drew Holiday in the picture and all that. There's just so many good plays, and it's hard to picture what day, what guy's going to go off. So Bucks are a fade for me. Orlando's priced pretty good on DraftKings, especially on FanDuel. The one guy that stands out though is Cole Anthony. He's 4,500 on FanDuel. He's 5,600 on DraftKings. They're going to need him. Fultz now out for the year. Fournier's out. So they're going to need Cole Anthony to play minutes. 4,500 feels too cheap. On the DraftKings side, Aaron Gordon, like you said, 6,700. I think he's going to go overlooked too, just because it hasn't been a name that people have seen too much this year. But he started off on a minutes limit, finally got up to 35 minutes. And he's just an athletic guy that flies around the court and can make plays. So he always has a ceiling, and he could hit it this game. Vooch always makes sense, but there's other guys like Embiid that I'd rather spend up for. So not going to go there today. And then James Ennis on DraftKings. He's a min price, 3,000, 3K. I expect him to start. Not a great basketball player, but anytime he's a 3K starter on the court.
He's out.
Oh,
they ruled him out. Yeah, they ruled him out not too long ago for I don't even know the reasoning. What was the reasoning behind it? I saw it before we hopped on.
Well,
he was definitely in play. I mean, he was 3K. I thought he was in play too.
Yeah, he has a right hamstring injury, so that's where we're going to get those tight rotations on the Magic side.
Yeah, that's a little boost to a couple of these cheaper dudes for the Magic for sure.
Cole Anthony now, I mean, on DraftKings is 5,600. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. Terrence Ross is definitely in play too with the tighter 5,400 on FanDuel. Going to get even more minutes. So I missed that. Now the rotation's even tighter, which makes them, wow.
Yeah, definitely lean with some of these cheaper Magic dudes in this game. I'm not paying it's not a spot where I'm going to pay a premium for anyone. I'm not going to pay a full price tag for a Vooch or Giannis. It's going to be some of these cheaper dudes. Good comment in the chat here. Gino Raman, he said, kudos to AP with the playbook. It's a great summary of info from all angles for each game. Appreciate the concise, well-rounded info that I can consume quickly. So yeah, I mean, in that playbook, I'll just kind of talk about a little bit. Each game breakdown, quick notes, a little more elaborate notes, and list some plays too that kind of stand out in that game. And we have that for every single game. AP does it. And then at the top, kind of has a ranking system, like an overall ranking system, a GPP only ranking system. I mean, it's kind of like a one-stop shop where you can get like all your information for the slate. AP does a phenomenal job with it. Anything I'm missing on that, AP?
No, actually, I got it up right now, still making updates, fixing the rankings and stuff. So I have it up all the way up until lock. And look, you always have to go back and check because, we make updates to it. It's not just like it doesn't just get posted and it's done. But it's a constant moving target, and we adjust with news. So it's a great tool to use for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good spot to go to get like all the information you need for the slate. Definitely. So check that out. runpuresports.com. Workbench21 is the promo code. All right. We're at about 4:30. Let's get up to, Big T's not here, and I like getting them to that FedEx store. Someone had a great comment in there earlier that Big T's waiting at the FedEx store for us to call in the winter to get the gear shipped out today. I thought that was great. That's not the case, unfortunately. But if you guys get to 200, I mean, you're already at 110, 430 people watching. We'll give away a piece of gear. So get us up to 200 for that gear. Next game, Suns, Wizards, 230.5 total. Suns favored by 5.5. And this was kind of the spot I talked about in the opening where there's a team playing another team that's going way up in pace, and that's the Suns, team that, for the past few years, just running gun type team. Well, they're different this year, and they've slowed it down quite a bit. with Chris Paul coming in there, they kind of change how their team's going about business. That being said, this is a big pace up spot for them. They're projected to score around 120 points. So the Suns are a team that I've mostly avoided for the most part in terms of DFS because they've been pretty healthy and they're playing at the slower pace. But today, I think you can take a look at some of these guys. I think Chris Paul is in a really good spot. The one guy I'm still hesitant to play is Devin Booker. Like, he's had some big games, but he just needs the ball in his hands to do it consistently. With Chris Paul there, he's just not going to have that opportunity. So I like Paul over Booker if deciding between those two. I think Ayton could have a really big game here. Really hasn't gotten it going consistently, but I think this is a really good bounce back spot for him to kind of put up a big game, one of those games that we've seen last season. Cameron Johnson, really consistent with the minutes and production. He's really cheap, so I have interest in him. Now on the Wizards side, no Thomas Bryant. No Russell Westbrook. So, I mean, they're going to be relatively thin. Big boost for Beal. I mean, I think he's in the conversation as one of the guys to pay up for on the slate. Rui Hachimura, I think, is in play as well. Just been pretty steady. I mean, the minutes have been pretty steady, looking at 24, 37, 25. In a close game here, I think he gets upper 20s, maybe low 30s. And man, when you look at this roster, he's got to be one of the better names on there in terms of just basketball player. I mean, how good he is on the court. They're not going to have many options tonight. So I think you can take a look at, him, Beal on the Sun side. Like I said, Chris Paul, Cam Johnson, probably my favorites there. Title, go to you first. What are you thinking here in this game?
Yeah, so we haven't targeted the Suns pretty much all year. Now they're in a great spot, one of the highest totals on the slate. So going to have interest in them. Chris Paul stands out as my favorite. A little better play on FanDuel, 6,900, 7,200 on DraftKings, but point guard isn't great today. He's definitely in cash and tournament consideration. Cam Johnson's just too cheap on both sides for the minutes he's seeing. Rui Hachimura, he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. I'm always a big Rui guy. He's good at basketball, battled foul trouble last game, so only saw 25 minutes, but I expect that number to come up. They just need him now, especially with Thomas Bryant out. Yeah. They're going to need his size. Like, he's not scared to take a rebound. He can dribble up the court, not pass, and go hit a mid-range jump shot. So any guy that's skilled enough and he's able to do that in the offense, I like. So him and Beal definitely going to have the most usage on the team. Beal's priced up, but he's priced where he should be. He has 60 real point upside, and if he gets the other stats, he could break the slate. So great matchup as well. I agree with you on Booker, but his prices came down a little bit on FanDuel at least. He's 7,600 now, 7,900 on DraftKings. A little price decrease, so he has those games where he gets hot, but he does need to fill it up and scoring-wise, otherwise he really doesn't get there. So more of a tournament play, but he is cash viable if you need it. The main guys, though, Cam Johnson, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, and Hachimura are the guys I'm looking at, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of, on the same page in terms of the dudes that are in play here. AP, from a tournament perspective, is there anywhere else you can go? I know you're a David, big, sexy Bertans guy. Are you looking at him? Are you looking at Wagner? What are you thinking here in this one?
Yeah, I mean, with Bertans, it's just, man, there's nothing sweeter than watching him, pull up from 35, 38 feet and just stroking those threes. But no, I mean, so like this game, when I look at it, like this Suns team is such a good, well-rounded basketball team. Very good on the defensive end of the court. They love to slow it down. When I look at this, a few things come to mind. 230 total. So a lot of projection systems are going to bump up the players in this game. A lot of eyes are going to go to this game because a lot of us were driven by what the Vegas lines come out as. I think like the Suns have had two games all season that have come even close to surpassing this 230 number. They love to slow it down. I almost want to, in tournaments, decrease all of the guys on the Sun side, their projection. The one other scenario where we saw them all go off was against, from a scoring standpoint, they went off against the Raptors. The Raptors love to push in transition. That creates a really fast-paced environment. But none of them hit value when it came to a fantasy standpoint relative to their price. And so I think when I'm like going through here and looking at this, Devin Booker under 8K, he's going to, jump off the page. Same with Chris Paul. And I think these guys could pick up some ownership. And I think I would want to be a little bit under in tournaments because I think I want to, again, put a bet on the under in this game. I don't see it hitting that 230 number. And so I think you could get different in tournaments by going elsewhere. So I think like Chris Paul, I think, he's fine, but man, like they have so many guys, so many mouths to feed. Mikal Bridges is playing really good. Crowder has been a really good addition to this team from a defensive side of it. The guy actually, so one of the guys I do like, I don't think many people are going to play, but it's Cam Johnson off the bench. He's getting about 30 minutes off the bench. He's been playing really well, 28 to 30 minutes. 4.2K on DraftKings. So if I'm going to play this game, I want to get a little bit different by attacking some of the value pieces. And I think on the Wizards side, I think Rui Hachimura is going to get some traction, more so probably on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't need to force him in. And, I don't think any starting lineup has been announced either. So, you think they probably roll out Robin Lopez, but it's just him and Mo Wagner there in the front court in the paint. So you got to think one of these games, like DeAndre Ayton is going to just feast. And if there was any spot for him to do it, it would be this spot. And I'm looking at ownership projections right now, and it seems like he could be the guy that goes a little under owned.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly, that has to do with Embiid coming in with really high ownership today, and rightfully so. I mean, we'll get to that game in a little bit. I mean, they just have no bodies. If people are playing a center, it's going to be Embiid. So I think Ayton is a really good tournament play, pivot type situation tonight. Price is about as low as we've seen it. Matchup is as good as it gets. I think he's a phenomenal tournament option tonight, for sure. Anything else here in this one before we move on? Cool. All right. Knicks, Hornets total 212.5. Charlotte favored by 5 here. And I mean, the real story, kind of the season for DFS purposes is the minutes that these Knicks guys just continue to play. Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Elf, Randle 38 last game, had foul trouble one game, played 31, 39, 43. I mean, they're just playing so many damn minutes where the matchup doesn't matter. Situation doesn't matter. They're just going to ride these guys. And now they have another injury. Bullock's going to be out. So I think Austin Rivers probably slides into the starting lineup here. His price has finally come up after a couple good games, laid a dud last time. But, man, I'm still looking real hard at Julius Randle, maybe Mitchell Robinson a little bit. Mostly Randle, though, on the Knicks side for me. On the Hornets side, it's just a team that I'm not really playing, even on these smallish mid game type of slates. Like I'm not going to Hornets. I mean, it really, the emergence of LaMelo Ball is really going to hurt these guys' fantasy performances moving forward. So for me, it's Julius Randle and it's LaMelo Ball. And I don't think I'm really going anywhere else in this game. I will stick with you, AP. Does anything kind of stand out to you here for tournaments?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Austin Rivers, it makes sense to move him in at the 2. RJ Barrett has proven that, he can play, he can run point, he can play the 3 or 2. So you got to think we see Elf, Rivers, Barrett. And man, it's just the Randle show. I think, he could absolutely feast on the boards in this matchup against Charlotte. Triple-double upside here. And it's kind of Julius Randle. The other thing on DraftKings is, we know Embiid is going to be a popular play, and rightfully so. Julius Randle is power forward eligible on DraftKings, so I think that's huge. I can't play Elfrid Payton at that elevated price. RJ Barrett just feels a little bit too expensive. And so I think on the Knicks side, you keep it simple. You play Randle, it's been working. And on the Hornets side, can we get LaMelo Ball some minutes? This dude looks really good out there, and really good from a fantasy aspect. The offense is running through him. He's, getting guys involved. His passes are really good. And, he's just an all around looks like a good player. So that's the thing with the Hornets, though. They've always frustrated me. The rotations suck. Their minutes suck. But at 7K on DraftKings, I think it makes him, it's going to keep people off him for sure. And so I think that will make him a really sharp play overall. Devontae Graham is a guy that they just continue to give heavy minutes. And he his price is still low. He's going to live and die with that 3-point shot. But he's the other guy I do have some interest in. I know they want to get Graham and Ball on the court more at the same time. So, on the Hornets side, it's just those two.
Yeah, I mean it's been an up and down ride for Graham. I mean, he really had some bad games early on, but bounced back, last week with a 38 fantasy point game, 37 fantasy point game. The minutes are still mid 30s. So I mean, yeah, maybe he's someone to consider. I kind of overlooked him, but you brought up that name, and maybe it makes sense a little bit. Title, you talked about Graham. I believe it was last week at some point. I mean, are you still looking at him? And then anyone on the Knicks side that you have interest in?
Yeah, Big T was giving me a little crap.
Yeah,
he was getting a little
hitting you on it.
And he showed up and he got 38, and he had a great first half. I think it was, I believe. It's just mainly buying in on the talent. When he makes shots, when he makes threes, he shoots more, and then he has more opportunities. If he starts slow, LaMelo comes in and takes all the energy, then he's not going to be in for a good game. So it's one or two ways. I don't like it as much today. I think there's better plays, especially with all this Philly stuff, but he's in play because he's 5,600 on FanDuel at shooting guard and 5,800 point guard eligible on DraftKings. So he's more of a tournament play though. LaMelo Ball is the only Hornet I have interest in, and that's only at DraftKings because he has the triple-double upside. Just a good player. Wish he had more minutes, but his time will come when he's getting 35 minutes and going to be priced in the 9K range because this guy really is good. Julius Randle, he's getting all the minutes in the world. He's in play on both sides. Just a very good floor with a ceiling, so it makes a ton of sense. And then Mitchell Robinson, I think he makes for a good pivot on both sites in tournaments. FanDuel especially, his price did come up a little bit. He's 6,200. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, so both of them. But the stocks really on FanDuel could get him this ceiling. Like last week or something, he had like 6 or 7 combined. And that's 21 points right there. And if he gets points and rebounds, he can absolutely smash. No one's going to play him really because Embiid in the center position. So I think he makes for a good pivot with the ceiling. And then Alfred Payton on FanDuel. He's only 5,500. They're running them out a ton of minutes. I expect him to get a ton of minutes going forward. He gets some steals, so that helps him on FanDuel. Rebounds the ball. 5,500 just feels a little too cheap.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I feel like he's been at 5,500 for like a month straight now. They have not touched his price tag at all over there on FanDuel. But yeah, with Bullock out, I mean, should very, very much so solidify his minutes. All right, guys, hit that like button. We're at about 5:03. Listen to Jimmy B. We got Jimmy B in the chat. He says, donkey punch that like button, people. So yeah, listen to Jimmy B. Just hit it. It's very simple. One click. And then do the same donkey punch to the subscribe button as well, and we'll be all set. James Ennis upgraded to questionable. So we talked about him in that first game. He's 3K. If he were to play, I think he's definitely a dude to consider at the bare minimum. As I said in the opening, we have that promo code Workbench21. It's 25% off your first payment at Run Pure Sports. Got premium content for NBA, PGA, MMA coming up this weekend, NFL playoffs. It's a great time to head on over to Run Pure Sports and check us out. Next game, Grizzlies, Cavs, total 206. I mean, man, this is one of the lowest totals I've seen in a while. 206 and a half. Memphis favored by 2.5. And for me, this game, we still need news on whether or not Sexton is in. If Sexton's out, it kind of changes things. He missed the last 2. So, this game tips off, 7 Eastern. So we'll have the news. But on the Memphis side, it's very clear. I look at these price tags on DK. I'm not paying the price tag for any of these guys on DK, but you go over to FanDuel and some of these guys have some nice price tags. Like Kyle Anderson is 5'4" on FanDuel at small forward. I think he's in the conversation. Brandon Clark coming off a big game last time out. He's only 5'6" on FanDuel. I think he's in the conversation. I'm not paying these price tags on DK for the Grizzlies. And then on the Cleveland side, a lot, what happens here is tied to Sexton and whether or not he's in. We're going to get the news. If he's out, all these guys get a pretty big boost. Dotson, Osman, Nance, Andre Drummond, I think is in play either way. He's kind of back to getting those minutes and the production that we're typically used to seeing. But man, he's if he's going to be popular, he's always a guy I'm going to kind of be off of in tournaments just because the floor is low, the minutes floor is low. AP, give me your thoughts here on Drummond and the Cavs. I know you primarily play on DK, and are these Grizzlies price tags a little bit too much for you to roster tonight?
Yeah, the Grizzlies price tags are, and the problem is, I mean, okay, so I'm always looking at injuries because, if someone gets injured, it means we should see a tighter rotation. That hasn't been the case with the Grizzlies. I thought this whole period, I thought we are going to see heavy minutes from Jonas Valanciunas. Not the case at all. Since Ja Morant's been out, I mean, Valanciunas has yet to play 28 minutes in a game. I would love to play him. I think he could erupt at some point in time. I'm just, and they're going to need him out there to match up with Drummond. All of these things make a case to play him. I just can't do it because the minutes aren't there, man. And it's just they find a way to get these other guys in. The only guy I've interest in on the Grizzlies side is DeAnthony Melton. He's 3.8K. I know he's not going to play a ton of minutes, but he's a good fantasy point. He's a good fantasy point per minute producer. I'm not forcing him in by any means. I'll have some exposure in tournaments. I think there's going to be better value elsewhere. But he's a guy that I always like to in the projections, give him a little bump. I usually bump him up by 2.5, 3 points, just because I think he's a good player. But I'm pretty much off the Grizzlies side. The other thing, too, is Colin Sexton news is actually pretty huge for this game. If he played, I would have interest in the over here. 206.5 is a little too low. If he's out, this Cavs offense is just not good at all. Damian Dotson's going to have to play every single minute of this game. If he's not in the game, they really don't have someone in there that can run the offense. I mean, you all saw that little clip of Drummond trying to run the offense and was waving the ball around and couldn't get anything done. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. And this Grizzlies team, they have size. They can match up and make things tough on Drummond. So that's kind of why I hope he's going to be popular. I think there's so many other good centers on the slate. Yeah. I'd rather be off of him. And so for me, it's pretty simple. If Sexton plays, I'm off this game. If he doesn't play, I'm upgrading Damian Dotson. I think he's a fine play. I'm not playing Chetty Osman. I'm not playing Okoro. What is it like? Man, you think about this, like this guy should be playing is playing 35 minutes a game because they don't have anyone and he isn't doing anything. Like, how do you play that many minutes and you're not doing anything? I don't get it at all. But I'm definitely not playing.
Yeah, we joke on the show just about every time the Cavs are on the slate, but I'm still hurt. I just pulled up the game log here on it was the day after Christmas too, December 26th. This dude played 42 minutes and mustered up 4.75 fantasy points. My feelings are still hurt.
And then overtime.
In overtime. And you scroll up, I mean, not much has changed. 28 minutes, 13 fantasy points, 39, 19, 34, 7.5. This guy freaking sucks.
I mean, he had a 5% offensive usage rate in that game. Like, how is that even possible at all? I don't get it.
Never consider that guy. Title, what do you got in this one for us?
Yeah, so the thing that sticks out right away, I play more on FanDuel, but I play both on action on both sites. But Osman got moved to power forward from small forward, and he's only 5,100, so he's definitely in play, especially if Sexton's out. Unlike Okoro, Osman's at least handling the ball, running off screens, getting looks, so he does something. I'm fine going there. Drummond stands out more on DraftKings where you can roster two centers. He's only 9,200. If he gets that big minutes and like he did last game, I expect him to eat low scoring game. So a ton of misses. He should be able to clean up the boards nicely, get some putbacks, get that double pretty easily. So better play on DraftKings. On the Memphis side, I'm with AP. The only play I could make a case for is DeAnthony Melton on DraftKings. And that's just if there's really no other value but we have Philly value. So he's going to be like 1% owned because there's better value on the slate. But if you want to make a pivot off the Philly value and go to somewhere else, DeAnthony Melton can get you there occasionally in the minutes he has. So don't mind that, but it's really more of a stay away game. The only other guy I mentioned Memphis on FanDuel is Brandon Clark at 5,600. He's probably made me the most money in NBA to start the year. No one's made me more than this guy. He flies around the court, always running the court when they have a transition. He gets blocks, he gets steals. He's just active on the offensive end. So anytime someone's actually out there contributing in multiple ways, I have interest in. And 5,600, he showed that ceiling multiple times. So I'm fine going there too.
Yeah, really good price tag on him. Just to circle back, Robin Lopez is starting for Thomas Bryant. I don't think he's really in play all that much. He's 4.1K on DK. I'll likely be passing on him, but just wanted to pass along that information. You touched title on the value in this 76ers game, and they're going to be without all these guys. They're going to have 9 healthy bodies, and we saw Maxey play 40 minutes. We saw Matthias play 40-some minutes. Like, they are very thin. Embiid is going to be very, very popular because all these guys out. Danny Green will be popular. I mean, the 76ers will by far be the most popular team on the slate. I mean, the interesting part comes in tournaments, because if you're going to play 76ers guys, maybe you want to take a look at some Hawks. Trae Young has been awful lately, but Bogdan is going to be out. Maybe that gives him a little boost. Maybe he finally gets things going here. He's 9-4 on DK and only 8-8 on FanDuel. That's about as cheap as I've ever seen him. So yeah, I mean, title, I'm going to go to you first here. I mean, these 76ers guys, it's a spot where we're basically forced to load up. Mike Scott is expected to return. He missed a few games, and he's the bare minimum on DK. So give me the rundown here of the 76ers, and then any guys on the Hawks side that you might have some interest in.
Yeah, so this is just the chalky spot of the slate. They just don't have a lot of bodies. They're all underpriced for their roles, so they're going to be very popular. Tyrese Maxey stands out the most on both sides. The guy's just a hooper. He's a good basketball player. He's confident. He knows that this, without Simmons, without Tobias, that he needs to do the scoring at the guard position, and he'll do it. So very tough fade to get away from him, but I won't be able to do it. I know that, but I mean, there's obviously always routes to people failing. So I'll let more AP talk about that for tournament side. Otherwise, yeah, there's Mike Scott, Danny Green, Matthias, Joel Embiid, this Isaiah Joe guy, Paul Reed, like, you just literally everyone on their roster is available to play. So they're all going to get minutes. They're all too cheap. It just decides on picking the starters will be the ones that are chalkier. So I don't mind once the starting lineup comes out going to like the 6th man or the 7th man in tournaments, who are still going to get plenty of minutes. They just will have half or a third of the ownership because they're not starting. So that's probably how I'd approach it in tournaments. And then on the Hawks side, man, Trae Young, I feel like every time I come on this show, I'm like, one of these days, Trae Young is going to finally be the old Trae Young. And he hasn't done anything like close to that. So no. I'm finally jumping off. There's better guys on a 7-game slate, but the moment I jump off, he's probably going to go for 65. So beware on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty disappointing overall. And then the other interesting part here with the 76ers roster is they're so decimated, but they have 3 centers. Like they have Howard and they have Bradley and Embiid, and those guys are never going to be on the court together at the same time. So, I mean, really, you're talking about like seven dudes that are going to play a large majority of the time during this game. So from a tournament perspective, AP, I mean, how are you handling the situation with the 76ers? Very high ownership, very cheap price tags. How are you handling it for tournaments?
Yeah, honestly, I think it makes things really easy today in tournaments. Like, look, here's the thing with this Hawks team right now. They do not look good. They have no chemistry. They just lost twice to the Hornets back-to-back. They lost to the Knicks, the Cavs, and that's all coming off that huge win over the Nets not too long ago. So this team, like Capella's out there, he doesn't look interested. I love these spots. I think Philly could come in, they're 6-point underdogs. I think they could actually win this game. And I think you lock in Embiid. I think you lock in Danny Green. And I think you lock in Maxey. I think what they do is Embiid's going to play a ton of minutes. I think then it's going to be Howard and Bradley that will rotate in the front court. We could even see like some, extremely big lineups. I don't know if that would work against the Hawks because the Hawks are a run and gun type team. They have a bunch of shooters, Kevin Huerter off the bench, and some of these other players. So I don't know how successful that would be. Embiid's going to get a ton of minutes tonight. and his usage is going to be absolutely insane. This Maxey dude's a stud. I'm not fading him. He's going to be very popular, but he's going to get a ton of run. And then Danny Green's going to be the other guy out there that's going to get a ton of run. The way I might attack it is maybe mix in like a Mike Scott. I don't know if I'm going to mix in like an Isaiah Joe. He didn't look very good out there last game. And I mean, it was really a tough spot against, a stacked Nuggets team. And, but yeah, I think Maxey, Green, and Embiid, I think they're going to play as many minutes as they can handle. The game I always go back to was when the Nuggets, I think it was a couple years ago, where they had to go and they only had like 7 players. And, man, all their starters played like 40 some minutes. Like they played. It
was against the Jazz, right? I think it was against the Jazz.
Yeah, against the Jazz. A tough matchup, and people were talking about fading it and stuff like this. If you faded that game, the players in that game, you got absolutely smoked. And so don't make that mistake. I'm not going to. Sure, it could bust, but honestly, they're going to be forced into heavy minutes. I'm going to trust what the numbers say. I love the matchup, and I love the fact that, man, this Hawks team doesn't look good, but they're still running fast. So I think they go off, and I like bringing it back with Trae Young. So it's
I mean, do you think Bogdan being out gives him at least a little bit of a boost where maybe we can see him just kind of have one of those big games?
Yeah, honestly, I was watching close. The Hornets, they actually, they're kind of sneaky with how they played him on defense. He looked really frustrated. This Maxey guy does not look like a good defender at all. Just looking at his plus minus and looking him out there. I mean, look, Gary Harris. I think Gary Harris was like 7 for 10 or 7 for 11. All their guys were hitting open jumpers, and so I think Trae Young is going to be able to get whatever shot he wants tonight. And man, I think this is the game where he just says, fuck it, takes it, puts the team on his back, and gets it done. So yeah, I think you play at least three 76ers guys, and you run it back with Trae Young.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been good lately for him, but we know, I mean, he's a much, much better basketball player than what we've seen. So I don't hate that at all. All right, guys, hit that like button. We're you get 24 away, 24 more likes, and we'll give away a piece of gear. We'll phone it in to Tony. He'll get it overnighted to your house tonight. So make sure, just hit the like, and then while you hit the like, hit the subscribe. I was just joking about the overnight. It'll be there within a few weeks. We have a deal going right now with Monkey Knife Fight. Basically, you sign up Monkey Knife Fight, you use promo code RUNPURE, get a $50 match at deposit. And the nice thing about this is we have a Discord channel in our Discord chat that is fully devoted to Monkey Knife Fight picks and plays. We have people in there on a daily basis posting some of these picks, and they've done pretty well so far. So head on over to Monkey Knife Fight, use that promo code RUNPURE at checkout, gets you a $50 match on your deposit. You can start locking in some of those winners. All right, the next game, we got 2 more. So the Pelicans Mavericks postponed off the slate, health protocol reasons, they're not playing. Next game, though, is a very interesting one for DFS purposes. The Pacers and the Kings. The total is 227.5. Pacers are favored by 5.5. The Kings side is very tough because, Darren Fox apparently a little dinged up. They're playing him limited minutes. We haven't really gotten an update on that, but he only played 24 and then 25 in the last 2 games. Buddy Hield, questionable. Rashawn Holmes, questionable. So this is a spot where you don't know what to do with the Kings until later. It's a 10 p.m. Eastern game. Maybe leave some spots open. That's fine. I don't know. On the Pacer side, though, it's very cut and dry. Their starters are playing a ton of minutes. Brogdon, Sabonis, Miles Turner, even Victor Oladipo, all playing a lot of minutes right now. Very strong fantasy plays in a really good matchup. I think they will have quite a bit of ownership tonight, but man, it's a really good spot for some of these Pacers dudes. Sabonis just so steady. I mean, this dates back to last season where he kind of got into this role, just so steady. I mean, you can almost count on him for 40 fantasy points with the 50 to 60 upside. Brogdon has been so good lately. I think these guys are really good plays. You look at Brogdon, 54, 57, 55, 43 fantasy points in his last 4 games. Like, just very impressive. AP, I'm going to give it to you first. What do you think here on this Pacer side with these guys playing so many minutes? And then what are you doing with this news on the Kings side? It's pretty hard from a fantasy perspective because we have a lot of guys earlier that we want to lock in. So it's kind of a hard slate to wait for this Kings news. How are you handling this game?
Yeah, I mean, look, like Luke Walton's back to his ways of his random rotations. I think you make it easy and you just say, screw it, I'm going to fade the Kings because they suck. And I think that's an easy way to approach that game. I mean, yeah, if Holmes was ruled out, Hassan Whiteside could potentially become a really nice play and, a nice tournament play because on DraftKings, you can only play him at the center or the utility spot. And most of those spots are going to be taken up. So, I mean, that is like, if you're multi-entering, I would definitely keep that in mind as a potential pivot if that news were to come really late, because Biggs absolutely dominate this Pacers team on the boards, and a guy like Whiteside. And look, a lot of their points come in the paint, and that creates block opportunities for a guy like Whiteside. He could have if he were, and this is just talking, if like Holmes somehow got ruled out and like Whiteside got 25 minutes or something like that, man, this dude could rack up a ton of blocks and a ton of rebounds. And so I think maybe Holmes probably plays, and hopefully we can avoid that scenario. But I think in one of my builds, since I'm multi-entering, I'll definitely have that in consideration as a pivot. But I think the Pacer side is what you want here. They're getting the pace up, and from a fantasy standpoint, I'm looking at some of these ownership projections. They don't really make sense. Like, you want the rotation in minutes that a guy like Brogdon is getting. And same with Sabonis. I mean, man, the guy just keeps printing. It's just when I think of roster construction, the reason why these guys might be lower is, man, if Embiid is like a lock for me, I'm going to have to pick and choose of where I go. I probably can't play Embiid, Randall, and Sabonis in the same lineup. So there's definitely decisions to be made on that standpoint. But it's Brogdon, Oladipo, and Sabonis for me. And they're all phenomenal plays.
Yeah, I agreed. Title, how you handle this situation for cash games? I mean, it seems like a spot where a lot of people would probably go because these minutes are stable, the matchup's good, the total's high. How are you handling the Pacers? And are you going to do anything with this King side of the ball with all the pending news?
Yeah, so Sabonis and Brogdon, clearly the best 2 plays in this game for a reason you guys mentioned. Minutes are safe, by far the 2 best players on the team, and the 2 best players on the team shoot the most. So definitely have interest in those guys. Very safe tournaments and cash games. Oladipo on DraftKings has a pretty good price tag, 6,900. Gets shooting guard and small forward eligibility, which I like, and could go overlooked with people going Embiid and then going the stars and scrubs route with the other value. So I think the balance build could be contrarian, and you can figure out some good balance guys that I like. So I like Oladipo there. For tournaments, I like the idea of plugging in Tyrese Halliburton and then getting the upside for the minutes if Buddy Hield misses. Even if he doesn't, Tyrese he's finding about 30 minutes a game. This guy is just a great basketball player. Very, very smart. The Kings got an absolute steal in the draft. The guy rebounds, he gets assists, he scores the ball, he plays defense. So he contributes in all the other stats. And if Buddy's out, his 30 minutes could go up to 33, 34. Fox banged up too. He's going to be about 1% owned because his prices came up. It's better on FanDuel where he's 5,400. On DraftKings, he's all the way up to 6,200. So that would be a very deep 1% owned play. But if I'm ever going to make a 1% owned deep play, I want it to be a guy that's actually good at basketball and that has hidden upside, which he does it with.
He looks damn good. I mean, I'm telling you, he looks phenomenal. Like, just watching him out there, just smooth, steady, quick. I mean, he's going to be something special, I think. Just very, very solid.
He grew up. I played him in high school, actually. He's from the area kind of. So I've been watching him for a while. I never thought he'd be like this, though.
Here's the real question. You said you've watched him play. Is he better or worse than your upcoming opponent, Big T?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. That's offensive to even ask that question. Big T and Zaza's my comparison. So he's a million times better than Big T.
Yeah. Big. I can't imagine where Big T ranks himself in his own head. Jeez. All right. Last
Right
game
up
on
there,
the
right up there with Carson Wentz, I imagine.
Yeah. Right. Got a good spot in that top tier with Mr. Wentz. All right. Last game on the slate. We have the Raptors, Trailblazers. Another big total, 230.5. Portland favored by 5. There's some pretty good storylines here. I mean, Dame finally had that big game that we were all waiting for. I mean, I'm pretty sure every show that I've done in the past 3 weeks, one of the co-host or myself said, this is the night. Well, JT Hayes, our boy, Mr. JT Hayes comes in, and Mr. Damian Lillard, as he says, Damian Lillard was his play of the night, and Lillard goes off. Lillard goes for a real big game, 67.25 fantasy points 2 games ago. I like him again, man. Like, I think he's fine. I don't think his ownership's going to be all that high. Problem for me is, picking anyone else on this Trailblazer side. The price is way up on McCollum at 8.8. Derek Jones sucks. Robert Covington really hasn't been a great fit. Nurkic playing low 20s in terms of minutes. He's had a couple good games, but man, like 23 minutes, like I'm not playing Nurkic. On the Raptors side, I mean, things haven't been going great for them lately. They switched their starting lineup last time out, plugged in Powell, still lost to the Warriors. I think they play their minutes here. So I kind of have interest in guys like Siakam, Lowry are the two I kind of like the most. I think they're going to play a lot of minutes. I mean, they need to start winning some ball games. So I like those guys. But for me, it's tough, though. I mean, there's not any really cheap dudes here. So probably more tournament stuff. Siakam, I think, is the closest to a cash play in this game. You seen anything else, Title?
No, I'm pretty much with you. This game doesn't have much interest to me. They all seem pretty much priced right. Like Nurkic, 6,400 on FanDuel, but he just has 6,600 on DraftKings. He just hasn't really done much, and he's not a safe play at this point because Cantor can get all the run if he's playing well. So yeah. I don't like that too much. There's Gary Trent if you need value on DraftKings, but you don't need it with Philly and stuff. So this game seems pretty priced appropriately on both sides. It's the last game, so I don't feel a need to backload really because the Kings news is all really waiting on, and it can't change too much of the slate. It's hard to avoid the Sixers game and stuff like that, so I won't have much interest in this game. But if you're playing tournaments, I think this game goes overlooked too, and it's a relatively tight spread. It's a decent total, so I think it makes for a fine tournament play if you get the right guys and it stays close.
Well, good thing we have our tournament guy, Mr. AP, here with us. Is this a game where you'll be looking to load up in tournaments?
I mean, the pace here should be phenomenal. It should be really good. We should see a lot of points. I definitely think the over is for sure in play. The problem with the Blazers side is, and we saw it last night, but Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet are the best defenders on this team. And we saw them, give Curry, like he had no open shots last night. And I know everyone was tilting Curry, but if you watch that game, man, they were all over him, and that created opportunities elsewhere. So the best matchups here, you're talking like Derek Jones. I'm not going to play Derek Jones Jr. Robert Covington, I think is going to be extremely low owned. He's a guy that could randomly pop, and you would be like, if they lock those two guys up, production has to come from elsewhere. There's just too many points that are going to be scored. And so like in tournaments, you're going to get Robert Covington at like 1 to 2%. Everyone's forgotten about him, but the upside's going to be there. You just need the right matchup. The other guy is, when you think about wings, because that's where the best, matchup is here, and in the paint, Carmelo Anthony off the bench. I know it's gross because he's coming off the bench. But man, the Blazers, they've been in 2 blowouts recently. And so Melo's old. They're not going to give him a lot of run. If this game's close, he's going to get some extra run. Same with Nurkic. He's been a victim of the blowout. The last 2 games, he's looked better. He's definitely looked better. He should be able to get whatever he wants in the paint here. No one's going to play him because we have elite center spots. But if you think of playing like another center with Embiid, Nurkic is definitely playable, or you could play Enes Kanter, who's kind of been – and that's what makes them really tough because they are splitting minutes. But you got to think, when you look at if the last 2 games they had didn't blow out, we would have seen probably 27, 28 minutes from Nurkic, which would have been enough to get you 40 plus on the pace he was at. So how I see this game playing out is, on the surface, it's a good, like, there's going to be fantasy points in this game. It's just going to come in weird spots. Like, it's going to come from maybe the wings on the Blazers side. And then, on the Raptors side, it's Lowry, VanVleet, Siakam, they're all playing heavy minutes. They're all definitely in play. Who's gonna get it done? It just depends. It becomes harder to predict. What they need to do is give our guy Chris Boucher.
Man, he's good. He's good.
He got into foul trouble last night. I came in chat and that was our workbench. I played Tony's role. I got the approval. He was the workbench player of the day last night. And man, if he didn't get into foul trouble, he would have just, he was playing way too conservative there at the end before getting his final foul. But man, 6K. I think he's fully in play. I think he checks in sooner than like he's not going to start, but now he's their key 6-man off the bench. I think he checks in, and if he stays out of foul trouble, I think he gets starter type minutes. So he probably, from a price standpoint, my favorite play on their side.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked really, really good. You have to imagine they get him a stable role for sure. I mean, the production's great when he's out there. He's a guy that just can't hurt you when he's on the court. So have to imagine he gets more run. But yeah, I think overall this game, more tournaments. I mean, the one guy maybe for cash that I have a little interest in is Siakam. All right, we're getting close to the final segment here. I'm going to need you guys to both have a guy ready to go. I have special names, though. It is going to be the workbench play, but the workbench play doing business as, okay? That's kind of how we're going to do this next segment. Hit the like button, though. I want some more likes before we get on out of here. I told you earlier we have our premium show taking you up to lock, 6:15 Eastern, JSU Holden going live premium. That's on runpuresports.com. So head on over there to check that out. The promo code Workbench21 gets you 25% off your first payment at Run Pure Sports. Then we have a special show tonight, college national championship show for the Showdown slate. Big T and our boy Bruce, who heads up our college football product, will be breaking that slate down. Should be some big prizes, college national championship, college football. So head on over, check it out, runpuresports.com. Promo code is Workbench21. Okay, so like I said, we have our segment at the end. It's typically with Big T. It's the workbench play of the day. We're going to have it. Both our guys here, 2 individual plays. The first one is the workbench play of the day, doing business as the Carhartt play of the day. And that's going to be brought to you by our boy Titletown, who is the Carhartt play of the day.
Yeah, there's only one today. Rui Hachimura is the Carhartt play of the day. Love this spot for him. Best matchup, best pace-up spot. They're going to need his talent. They're going to need him to score without Westbrook, Thomas Bryant out. He's a good basketball player. So him and Beal, I think, get it together, keep the game close, and I expect a big performance. Carhartt play of the day, Rui Hachimura.
Love it. You said he had foul trouble last game, right? That's why he was
correct.
Low. Yeah.
Yep.
Have to imagine if he stays out of that upper 20s, low 30s, and man, you look at this roster, he's got to be up there in terms of one of the better basketball players they have on the roster. Okay, so we had the Carhartt, and I kind of threw a question in the chat. Someone come up with a good one for AP, and I mean, one of the first ones I absolutely love, so we're just going with it. So the workbench play of the day, doing business as the Justin Thomas play of the day. So if you follow AP's golf content, he loves himself some Justin Thomas. He's always recommending Justin Thomas. So the Justin Thomas play of the day. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good mention. So we got to go guys under 10%. And this guy, he's projected to be pretty low. Everyone's off him for some reason. Rightfully so. But Trae Young. I think Trae Young, he did this 9 times last season. 9 times he put up 40 real points. I think he's putting up 40 real points. I think he says, screw it. He's putting this team on his back. He's going to have open jumpers all night over Maxey, Isaiah Joe. All these guys are short. I mean, they are really short. They have no, and Trae Young's not tall either, but I think he's going to have open looks all night, 40 real points, 60-plus fantasy points, and he's my run back in that stack.
Love it. I mean, it should be a good spot for him to finally get back on track. Couple down games, no Bogdan, a really good matchup here against the 76ers. So really like that call. All right, guys, we got to the 200 likes that we needed to give away a piece of gear. I found a guy in the chat. I liked his comment. I mean, usually we pick the people that are talking about the workbench and getting, multiple partners on the workbench. And that's typically the comments that we pick for the winner. But our boy Matt Schaefer comes in and says, hey, as always, thanks for the content. Much appreciated. So I'm going to give a piece of gear to Matt Schaefer. So Matt, send Big T or info@RunPureSports a message, and we'll get you some gear shipped out relatively soon. Not today, but relatively soon. So, all right, that is going to do it for the Hardwood show here. Monday night NBA slate for Titletown, for AP. I'm Hoop. Good luck to everyone tonight in your contest.
Good luck, guys.